Hi, folks. As a big-time Philadelphia Eagles fan, I figured I'd make a video just talking briefly about my opinion of the Doug Pederson hire. For those who haven't heard, Doug Pederson is now the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, a sports team that I root quite passionately for. I'm going to say all this unscripted, just off the top of my head, what I like about the hire, what might concern me about the hire, and any other juicy little tidbits that might come to mind. My hunch is that he was the fourth or so on the list of guys the Eagles wanted to hire. There were rumors that the Eagles wanted to hire Adam Gase, who coached Peyton Manning during Peyton Manning's best year as a quarterback in this league. This league meaning the NFL. It's not like I coach in the NFL, but and then he helped repair Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler had a pretty good touchdown interception ratio and had a little bit of a personal comeback season last year, and I think a big reason why he chose Miami over Philadelphia, if it's indeed true that the Eagles offered him the job, was because of personnel control, which he wasn't going to get in Philadelphia. Word is that in Miami he will have control over the 53-man roster. So good for Adam Gase. I can't blame him for taking a job when that one offered him more control and therefore more freedom to run his football team how he saw fit. Ben McAdoo, I can't blame him for staying with the team he's comfortable with. He's a young mind. He's very promising. Again, he's gotten some excellent production out of two great quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and Eli Manning, but both of them played some of their best football under him. So he's a very promising candidate for head coach, and I would have been happy with him in Philadelphia if he had chosen Philadelphia. So that's two of the candidates. Tom Coughlin sat down with the Eagles and considered signing, but from what I heard, the reason he didn't sign with the Eagles is because the Eagles wanted him to keep several assistant coaches and he wanted more control, perhaps bring in some of his Giants buddies, and that wasn't going to happen, apparently. So going down the list of guys who could have been the Eagles head coach and didn't become the Eagles head coach, I think Doug Pederson was probably the fourth guy on the list. Now, my initial reaction wasn't the most enthusiastic, and the reason for that is I felt that if we got this far down the list, then why not stick with Pat Shurmur and promote him to head coach? Yes, he had a rough time out in Cleveland, but even Bill Belichick didn't have the greatest time out in Cleveland. I mean, Bill Belichick did have some playoff success in Cleveland, but not too much. He also had some years that were not so hot as well, and I can't blame Bill Belichick for that. It's just the way things have gone in Cleveland for quite some time. Then again, when Bill Belichick used to coach in Cleveland, it was a different franchise than it was now because the Browns moved after that, and over a period of however many years, a quarter of a century perhaps, things change. And a lot of guys come, a lot of guys go, especially when it's a brand new franchise because the old Browns became the Baltimore Ravens. Anyway, I think the Doug Pederson hire can work. Andy Reid was here for many years and had a lot of success. No, they didn't bring home a Super Bowl, but went to the NFC Championship several times, got to the Super Bowl, and like the Panthers and the Rams, took the Patriots to 3 points of the Super Bowl, of them losing the Super Bowl and the Eagles winning, or the Panthers winning, or the Rams winning. So that's not so bad. Andy Reid is, unless you want to count Greasy Neal and go back to the 1940s, Andy Reid is the most successful head coach the Eagles have ever had. So if Doug Pederson learned a lot, and I know he did, as an assistant under Andy Reid, both in Philadelphia and in Kansas City, there's a chance he'll bring some of that brightness to Philadelphia and some of that great work ethic and some of that likability. My main concern is that Kansas City's offenses haven't been so great while Doug has been there, and I know Doug hasn't always had full play calling control. In fact, he didn't start getting a lot of play calling control until late this season in Kansas City. I've read, I think it was on PFT, that Andy Reid called the first 15 or so plays. No, it wasn't on PFT. It was another reputable analyst, though the name escapes me. Andy Reid, they say, called the first 15 plays, and then Pederson started gaining more control and called much of that game against the Patriots not too long ago in the divisional round of the playoffs. Wasn't the best called game, was a bit too conservative, but at the same time, the Kansas City Chiefs' Jeremy Maclin has the injury, the high ankle sprain, so he could only do so much. So it's really difficult to evaluate because the Chiefs didn't have too much to work with. They have some good players, of course, but they don't have that explosiveness. And, this is a team that went all year last year without a touchdown to a wide receiver. I know this season's a different season, but regardless. And I think that Jeremy Maclin injury definitely reduced their ability to be explosive. I think that's common sense. Anyway, my final verdict as far as Doug Pederson goes, might he work out? Yes. Will he? I have no idea because we haven't really seen this guy be a head coach yet. He's very likable. Everything I hear about him as a person is excellent. Likes to smile, likes to laugh, likes to talk to people. Sharp contrast to Chip Kelly, who they say was difficult to be around, very quiet, and didn't talk anything with the players other than serious business. Was a bit of a control freak. Doug Pederson apparently isn't a control freak. So I've changed my opinion a little because when Doug was first hired, I went, oh, well, he was like the fourth guy on the list. But you know what? Especially if he keeps Pat Shurmur and if they re-sign Sam Bradford, I know Sam wants Pat Shurmur back. He knows him well, and that would keep Sam from having to learn an entirely new offense again and again and again because he's been doing that throughout his NFL career. If they keep Pat Shurmur as offensive coordinator, you know what? I think this can work. I love it looks like they're going to hire Jim Schwartz as defensive coordinator. I love that. So, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be optimistic. I'm feeling a little better, and I think this can work out. Will it? Who in the world knows? There simply isn't enough evidence. I like them going back to a 4-3 defense because that's what the talent on this team is made for. Anyway, this video's gone on about 8 minutes. I think I've spoken my mind quite well. Fly Eagles fly. Looking forward to a great offseason and looking forward to a great rest of the NFL playoffs this season as well, though the Eagles aren't a part of it. Anyway, see you guys.